Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Jeff. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing great. And where are you from, Jeff?
Well, I'm from Canada. I live in the capital city of Canada, which is Ottawa.
Okay, and what's your profession?
I'm a teacher. I do this is my profession is I teach. I'm an online teacher, so I do all my classes online using Zoom. So I don't teach in a classroom anymore. I just teach from my own home.
Okay, what's the difference between online teaching and offline teaching?
Well, online teaching, it took me a while to get used to it. You have to get used to using a little more technology. You have to maybe learn to communicate a little bit differently when you're talking on Zoom or on camera. You don't have maybe the chance to walk around like you do in a classroom or to work with individuals in groups and things like that. So it's just a little bit different, but the content is the same. The lessons are the same, and I still think it's possible to connect with the students, but not in person.
What is more popular in Canada? I mean, offline class or online class?
I think students still want to go to school. They still want to attend the school. They want to go to university. They want to go to high school. And when the pandemic started, everybody had to switch to online. So all the high schools and universities were doing online courses. But um, recently, students were very happy to return to school, to see their friends, and to actually go to the classroom. So I think going to school in the classroom is still more popular than online, but I think with adults and people who work full time, online courses are more convenient, that's for sure.
Okay, today our interview is into two parts. The first part is about your life, and the second part is our speaking test.
Well, I hope
So,
there's something.
can we ask you some question about your life?
Sure. I hope I
Okay,
don't I don't know how interesting it will be, but you can
okay. Would you
certainly
please
ask.
tell us something about your childhood?
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. Uh, I wasn't born in Canada. I was born in Bermuda, and that's because my parents were sent to Bermuda to work for 3 or 4 years, and while they were there, I was born. So I didn't arrive in Canada till I was about 2.5 or 3 years old, and then I think I had a normal, typical Canadian childhood. I enjoyed the different seasons and doing activities in the winter. I especially enjoyed playing hockey, ice hockey in the winter. I enjoyed playing baseball in the summer, and I really enjoyed activities that had to do with sports. And so I think I had kind of a typical Canadian childhood.
And what about your schooling?
Well, I
Can you
went.
remember your first school's name?
No, I don't. I don't remember. It's kind of funny, uh, especially now that I'm a teacher. I didn't really enjoy school as a child. I didn't enjoy going to school, and I'll tell you an honest story. Uh, I actually failed high school. I did not graduate from high school because I didn't like it. I didn't work hard. I didn't do my homework or study very much, and I failed high school. And that was a real lesson for me. So I had to go back and do extra courses to to finish my high school. And then when I did that, I decided I was going to go to university, And my friend said, you could barely do high school. How can you do university? But I did university and I did graduate with I have a Bachelor of Religious Education. And
Uh,
then,
so your childhood was in the town or it was in the village?
actually, because of the job that my parents had, we moved all over Canada. So I lived in smaller town. The first place I lived was a very small town. Then I lived in large cities like Toronto and Vancouver and 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 Ottawa. But I've kind of lived in small towns and big cities. So I had that experience through my whole life.
Have you ever been to America, USA?
Yes, I've visited there a few times. I've been to uh, California. I've been to Chicago. I've been to New York, Florida, Atlanta. I've traveled quite a bit in the United States. In my previous career, I had to sometimes travel for my job, and that's when I went to these places in the United
And you
States.
have you ever been to I mean Australia or Europe?
No, I've never been outside. Uh, Once I came here from Bermuda, I've never been outside of North America. Only except on one occasion. On one occasion, I spent 3 months in Guatemala. I worked in Guatemala and that's in Central America for 3 months.
How is the weather in Canada?
Well, today it's probably almost similar to Bangladesh. It's about 30 degrees. On the weekend, they say it's going to be about 40 degrees. That's not really typical. That's hotter than usual. In the winter, it's the other end of the scale. It could be 30 below zero.
So what is the weather you like most?
I like I like both summer and winter, but I think my favorite season is autumn, in between summer and winter. I really like that time of year. It's a
And what is
beautiful
the temperature on the time?
in autumn.
Yes.
Yeah, it's usually about between 15 and 20 degrees. It's not very warm, but it's a very beautiful time because if you've ever seen pictures of Canada in the autumn, all the trees and the leaves they turn lots of different colors, and it's just a beautiful time of year.
ডিয়ার ভিউয়ার্স, আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আমাদের জেফ জনসন সম্পর্কে, আপনারা এখানে আস্ক কোশ্চেন করতে পারেন। আমি তাহলে জেফকে জিজ্ঞেস করব। আপনারা চাইলে বাংলাতেও লিখতে পারেন। যে আপনাদের ভুল হলেও কোনো সমস্যা নাই। আপনারা যদি জেফকে ভালোবাসেন, if you love Jeff, if you think that he should give the answer, so you can write your question here. Okay?
Sure,
Do you welcome question from our viewers?
sure. I'd be happy to answer them if I can.
সো আপনাদের যদি জেফের লাইফ সম্পর্কে, কানাডা সম্পর্কে, আমেরিকা সম্পর্কে কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে, ডিয়ার ভিউয়ার্স, আপনারা প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন। আমাদের লাইফটা আজকে দুইটা ভাগে ভাগ করা হয়েছে। শুরুতে আমরা জেফ সম্পর্কে জানবো, দেন আমরা আইএলটিএস স্পিকিং টেস্ট নিয়ে কথাবার্তা বলবো। আচ্ছা, এনিওয়ে, সো হোয়াটস ইউর কলেজ নেম অর ইউনিভার্সিটি নেম?
I graduated from a university in Toronto. Toronto is the largest city in Canada, called Tyndale College University, and I graduated with my master's degree from a school in Western Canada. It was called Briarcrest College and Seminary.
My nephew was in University of Toronto. He was doing his PhD there, but he didn't finish because he is now in America. He's doing his PhD at MIT.
MIT is a famous
And
university.
he was not only my nephew, he was my student also.
Oh, that's nice. So you have
I
much.
taught him in his school, college, university, even IELTS. He did his IELTS from Liakat and he scored 7.5 in IELTS.
That's great.
7 or 8 years back it
So,
was.
7.5
Yes.
is a very good score in IELTS. And I
This
speak,
month, two of our students scored 7.5 this month, in this month.
yeah, I see a lot of students concerned because they don't get an 8 or an 8.5 or even a 9. And I think it's really important to know that very, very few people get an 8 or a 9, and especially a 9. But 7.5 is a very good score, and it's more than you need to get into any university in Canada,
I
for
have a
example.
student, he is in Canada. He scored 8 in IELTS.
Yeah, eight means it's 8 is a very good score, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to get a good score, but um, you don't need. There's no school in Canada that you need an 8. The most you need is a 7.5, and so a good thing to know is don't feel a lot of stress or concern if you don't get an 8 or an 8.5. 7.5 is a very, very good score, and it's above average. It's well above average that most students get on the IELTS exam. It's a very 7.5. If you get 7.5, you should be very proud of the hard work and effort that you put in to get that score. It's a very good score.
Thank you. There is a question for you. Hello, Mr. Jeff, sir. Can you please give me some tips how we can stay cool during the speaking test?
Stay cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, this is a really important thing. And one thing that I recommend, there's a couple of things. First of all, even though you're nervous, think about the examiner. There is a chance that the examiner could also be nervous. And I'll tell you why. The examiner is always evaluated on their performance. Every time you do, when you go for your speaking test, you will notice that the examiner will record the session. The examiner is not recording it so that he can listen to you again. The examiner is recording it because his supervisor or her supervisor is going to listen to that recording. So that examiner has to do the best job possible to make sure that you get a very good score. So first of all, realize that you're not the only one that might be feeling a little stress. And secondly, the best way to stay calm in this test is to think about it as a conversation with a friend. Try to imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop and you're being asked the same questions. Just like you just asked me some questions about my childhood and I was able to answer them. It wasn't a test, it wasn't anything, but I felt relaxed because I knew I was talking with a friend. This is the kind of thing that you want to imagine because all the questions that you're being asked are about you. There's no topic that you're not going to understand. Everything is about you, your childhood, your schooling, your job. When you give a talk, it's going to be about a topic that has to do with you, maybe describing a gift that you received or somebody that's important to you. And then in section 3, you're asked to give your opinion. And you know what? It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter if the examiner agrees or disagrees. You're not being judged on what your opinion is. You're just being judged on how you express it in English. And I always tell my students, think of the examiner as your friend because the examiner really does want you to do well. So if you can try to imagine sitting in a coffee shop instead of an examination room and what you're talking and try to talk in the same way, I think it will help you maybe relax and feel a little less stressed.
Okay. Rezaul asks another question to you. Now you are doing working as an IELTS instructor, but what was your childhood dream or goal?
My childhood dream was to be a professional hockey player. I wanted to be a professional hockey player, but it turned out I wasn't good enough to be a hockey player. But I
You
guess
you try you tried your best to be a hockey player.
yeah, everybody plays hockey in Canada. Every young boy plays
What
hockey.
is your national game in Canada?
It's hockey.
Oh,
Think of
that's
it
great.
this way. Think of it this way.
Is
There
it
are
dangerous?
It could be, but in Canada, hockey is to Canada, for example, like cricket is to Bangladesh. Maybe think of it that way. That's how popular. I think cricket's the most popular sport in Bangladesh. Is that right?
What is about football in Canada?
It's becoming more and more popular. More kids. But when I was a child, there were not a lot of football players or soccer.
What is about, I mean, cricket in Canada?
Cricket is growing a little bit, but it's not, and it's very common in some parts of Canada because there are a lot of people. For example, there's an area, a part of Canada near Toronto, where there are a lot of uh, people from Bangladesh, India, and South Asia that really enjoy playing cricket. So it's become a little bit more popular in certain areas.
Jeff, now we are going to move for our speaking test, our part 2. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
So, dear viewers, we are playing a role here, and I'm going to be the examiner, and he's playing role as a candidate. Okay. So, Mr. Liakat is the IELTS examiner, and Mr. Jeff is IELTS candidate. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm only going to
Okay.
give I'm only going to give good answers today. Is that okay?
Yes, good answers. Our time is short today. That's why.
Yeah.
No problem. Good evening.
Hello,
Hello. Good evening.
and good evening to you. How are you?
I'm fine, and I'm from Bangladesh. Where are you from?
I'm from Canada. I live in Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada, and I've lived here for 2 years.
That's great. So, do you love swimming?
I don't do a lot of swimming now, but when I was a child, I used to love swimming, and I took swimming lessons uh, every week when I was younger.
Thank you. How often do you go swimming now?
Well, now I only go swimming once in a while in the summer, and it has to be a very hot day because that'll probably be a day that I've gone to the beach. And if I go to the beach, I'll usually take a little dip into the lake to cool off.
Okay. What places are there for swimming where you live?
Well, I live in Ottawa, and Ottawa is located right next to a large river. And that along that river there are a lot of beaches. So during the summer, especially on a day like today when it's very warm, a lot of people will go to the beach and will go swimming. And there's lots of beaches in my area.
Thank you. Do you think it would be more enjoyable to go swimming outdoors at or or on indoor pools?
Well, because we have two main seasons in Canada, like we have the winter and the summer. Most people who like to exercise for swimming will go indoors and go to a pool, and they'll exercise using swimming every day in the winter or summer. But if it's more for recreation and just enjoyment, most people will go to the beach in the summer.
Thank you. So our speaking part 1 is over. Now is I speaking part 2, cue card. I'm giving a cue card. You can think for 1 minute if you want. Then you have to deliver lecture for 2 minutes. Describe a famous business person that you know about. Again, I'm telling. Describe a famous business person that you know about. You should say who this person is, who this business person is, what kind of business this person is involved in, what you know about this business person, and explain what you think of this business person. I mean, your topic is a famous business person.
Okay. I'm just making, this is an important thing to remember. When you're given your minute to prepare for this 2-minute talk, the examiner will also give you a pencil and a notepad. So, and when he gives you the cue card, so make sure you use that cue card to form an outline for what you want to say, and take 1 minute and write some notes about what you want to say in your 2-minute talk, because preparing an outline is probably the most important step so that you don't get off topic when you're giving your talk. Anyways, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, your topic is a famous business person.
There's a famous business person who is an inspiration to me. And I don't know if you've heard of him before. His name is Colonel Saunders. And Colonel Saunders was famous because he started a famous fried chicken restaurant. And the fried chicken restaurant is called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And now Kentucky Fried Chicken has restaurants all over the world. And the reason that I'm inspired by Colonel Saunders is because he had a difficult life, and he tried and tried many times to start a business. And finally, he finally started his fried chicken business, and he didn't start it until he was 60 years old. And I really inspired that because I'm getting a little bit older and I wanted to start my own business. And to see a man who was 60 years old start such a famous business and such a successful business, and even become and make millions and millions of dollars in his lifetime, that's an inspiration to me, because it tells me that it's never too late to follow your dream and get started on the path to where you want to go. And
That's
also,
great.
okay, I was just going to add one more thing. He ended up living the last part of his life in Canada, and so he when he died, he was living in Canada.
Thank you. Now is I speaking part 3. Famous people today. What kinds of people are famous in your country today?
I think the most famous people in my country are athletes. We have some very famous athletes, and Canada is a very active country. Lots of children play sports, and especially ice hockey. So there are a lot of famous ice hockey players that young people and even older people look up to. And I would say these athletes are the most famous people in Canada.
That's great. Why are there so many stories about famous people in the news?
I think, well, there in the news there are bad and good stories about famous people, and I think we're just interested. I prefer to think about the good stories about famous people, because I think, especially as I just mentioned about hockey players and athletes, it gives some. I think they're very popular because young people and children look up to them and they want to be like them. And so when they hear any news about a famous person like a hockey player, people are attracted to that and they really want to hear more about that person because I think they have a real desire to be like them and to have the kind of life that this famous person had.
Thank you. Do you agree or disagree that many young people today want to be famous?
I tend to agree that many people want to be famous, and young people dream about being famous. And as I mentioned again, some people dream of being a famous athlete. Some people dream about being maybe a movie star or a famous musician. And I think they dream about being like these people because they want to improve their lives. They want to they want to experience something special. So I agree that there are a lot of people that want to be famous. And I think they will always be inspired by famous people.
Thank you. The last part, advantages of being famous. Do you think it is easy for famous people to earn a lot of money?
I definitely think that famous people can earn a lot of money. I think obviously you can see uh, people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and uh, and how famous they are and how wealthy they are. And if you're a very good hockey player in Canada, you can earn millions. If you're a good athlete, you can earn millions of dollars a year. And the same is true for movie stars and uh, and musicians. I appreciate the famous people who maybe became famous not because they were wealthy or had a lot of money. And one of my I mentioned Colonel Saunders earlier. Another famous person that inspires me is Mother Teresa, who lived in poverty for her whole life, but is one of the most famous and influential people in history.
Sure.
Yeah.
What might famous people enjoy having fans?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question? I'm not sure I understood correctly.
What might famous people enjoy having fans? They have huge fan.
I think people like to be admired. I think people like to be have people look up to them, and I think people enjoy how having fans makes them feel. And I think sometimes this is more important for famous people than even making a lot of money. They like to be admired and feel special by their fans.
Okay. In what ways could famous people use their influence to do good things for the world?
I was There's many ways that they can, and I'll give you an example of something that just happened in Canada today. Uh, Two famous hockey players were honored in a special way in Canada, not because they were good hockey players, not because they had lots of money, but because they used their fame and their popularity to talk about uh, special issues that a lot of people in Canada struggle with. One one was with mental health issues, and the other one started a foundation for cancer research. So these famous hockey players used their influence as famous people to start fundraising and to start foundations to help cancer sufferers and people who struggle with mental health issues. And I think that is another way that famous people can use their popularity to help others.
Okay. One of our viewers asked you, you were born in Canada?
No, I wasn't. I was born in Bermuda.
And when did you come in Canada? At the age of?
Two and a half or almost 3 years old. I was just a baby.
Okay, and how many languages do you know? English is it your first language? English?
English is my first language, and I also speak French.
Okay, so English is your first language, no?
Yes. But I had to learn how to speak French because Canada has two official languages, English and French.
Okay, so dear viewers, that is the end of our discussion today with Mr. Jeff. So hopefully we'll see him next Tuesday if he's fine and available.
I'm
So
looking forward to it.
take care, everybody. Good night.
Bye,
And good night,
everybody.
Jeff. Allah Hafiz. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.